Good evening, everybody. Welcome out to tonight's members training for all the members of Tax Sale Support. I'm Shade Foray here with Stephen Swenson, and we appreciate you being here.
Yeah, definitely appreciate you guys coming out for the new year. Got a lot of important things to talk about. In fact, we're going to talk about tax lien investing tonight.
Yeah, and part of the reason is because there are actually a lot of lien auctions that are coming up in the early part of the year here.
Yeah.
So it's worth taking a look at some of those lien opportunities because some of our students are looking for liens, some of them are looking for deeds.
Yeah.
So
well, and we kind of talk about deeds. We're a little deed centric, and so we think it's important to talk about liens and kind of go over them and make sure you guys are aware of how to be able to purchase them. The one thing that's nice about liens, whether we're talking about an online auction or even in the case of an on-site auction, is we don't need to do as much due diligence and research on a lien like we would with a deed.
Oh yeah, much easier to buy. They're the kind of thing that you can buy without doing a lot of research ahead of time.
Yeah. We just need to make sure the property has value, it has use, and that there's no huge red flags. And we're going to purchase a lien because chances are we're just going to get paid off our interest.
Yeah. In some states, roll-up isn't as big of an issue or a concern. So. Anyways, yeah, there are some great opportunities, also with liens, it's always a solid investment, to buy the lien. It's just a matter of what you pay for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so as far as any news, if you haven't had your strategy session, you can do that by going to the members center.
Yeah, and when they do that, with the strategy session, what's going to happen there is they're going to go over, your situation, what you want to accomplish, and try to help you figure out a game plan for that, and can also tell you whether or not something like the coaching program is a good option or not. If it is a good option, then they'll try to tell you which, basically what they think you should do.
Yeah, if not, we're going to point you in the best direction.
Yeah.
We also have a 3-day that's going to be coming up in Florida, probably near March or April, and so we'll let you know more about that for those that would like to attend.
Yeah, there are a lot of auctions that are coming up, both lien and deed. But before we talk about tax lien auctions, let's just make sure that everybody's familiar with exactly how liens work. We're talking about one of the enforcement systems, that's used in about 12 or 15 states. But tax liens have tremendous power. Really what the lien is a legal claim that's placed against the property itself due to unpaid property taxes. And the real power of that lien is its ability to prevent the transfer, of ownership. So you basically can't do anything with that property. You can't get it refinanced. You can't sell it. You can't do anything as long as that lien exists.
Yeah, exactly. When it comes to a lien, except for a mechanics lien, they're going to be issued through some type of government.
Well, even mechanics liens are still issued through the county too.
Yeah, but otherwise it's usually going to be a government debt.
Oh yeah, government. Yeah, that's true.
So a lien could be something like a property tax lien or an IRS lien or a state lien or something like a nuisance lien. Those are all going to be liens that essentially attach to the property until they're taken care of. Or in some cases, if we wait long enough, they can eventually, be removed. But the difference between a tax lien is that's a really kind of a priority lien and has that foreclosure right.
Yeah. When we say it has foreclosure rights, the power of a lien really is that it uses the whole property as collateral, and they all have a redemption period that's attached to them. That acts like a grace period for property owners. A period where they can, where they don't have to worry about getting foreclosed on. But at the end of that redemption period, once it does end, the lien can actually be used to foreclose, on the property.
Yeah. So, when we're talking about property tax liens, it's really the enforcement method that the counties use to recoup delinquent taxes.
Yeah, so they place a lien against property. Their whole goal in creating a lien and placing it against the property, though, is really just to give them a way to collect the money faster. So by creating this lien, they can sell it to public investors that then buy it And as soon as somebody buys it, they have the money they need to, to operate, which has kind of solved their, their funding issue.
Yeah.
With the property taxes being late.
Well, here in a state like Utah, they have to wait 5 years before they can foreclose on a property. But in a state like Florida, where they need that money, and you have maybe a higher percentage of property owners or people that are delinquent, this gives the way for the county to be able to recoup those funds, because either way, there's going to be a penalty and interest. If the county, regardless if the county's holding it, like in the state of Utah, where they don't sell tax liens to investors, there's still a penalty and an interest rate that
that's
debt
constantly
is
accruing.
The difference between a tax lien state is they allow investors to purchase that debt and essentially hold that lien against the property.
Yeah, there are some tax deed states that, that essentially use liens to build up to the foreclosure.
Yeah, well, I really think in a lot of states, they will issue a lien against the property on each one of those tax liens.
To prevent a transfer of ownership while it's delinquent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, but when the county goes to sell these liens to the public, obviously to investors, there has to be financial benefits of doing so. And the way that it works in tax lien states is they set up interest rate returns, that they are willing to pay out to investors, depending on the duration of the investment. So, for instance, interest rate could be 12% annually, meaning that, they're going to be earning about 1% a month, for every month that property is delinquent, and they hold the tax lien on
it. And these are really the two things that are dictated by the state. So the state will decide, how much the interest rate will be. It ranges between, 10% on the low end up to 24%. They're also going to decide what the redemption period is going to be. And that is how long the property owner has to pay us back as the investor before we can foreclose on the property. In some states, it's as little as a year. In the longest state, it can take up to 4 years, but it's usually between 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, and it also represents the what could potentially be, the duration of the investment. If it's a 3-year redemption period and we're buying liens, we're not going to be able to take any kind of action before that redemption period has expired. So we have to wait for that, to come to an end. But once that has ended, we can use the lien that we have to initiate foreclosure, on the property. Really what it comes down to is whether or not property owners pay off their bills or don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the tax sale, there's really 3 things that are going to happen on the day of the auction. First thing is a tax lien will be issued on a property. It's also going to begin accruing interest, and that's when the redemption period starts.
Yeah, all those things are going to begin on the day of the sale. So you have investors that have then purchased, the liens from that. And after liens have been purchased, there are really 2 possible scenarios. It's going to result in either redemption or foreclosure. If the property owner pays it off, as they most oftentimes do. In fact, 95+% of the time, the vast majority of properties that get liens against them never get foreclosed on. And that's because, they send their money into the county. The county has the money, they already had the money they needed because they sold the lien off. But what they can do now is, they can redeem the lien now and send a check to the investor.
Yeah, definitely. And that's usually what's going to happen is we're going to be getting checks in the mail off the tax liens we purchase. Now, it's not really checks in the mail as much as it used to be. We used to get physical checks in the mail. A lot of times now, especially if we're doing some type of online auction, it very well could be a direct transfer into your bank account, or something like that. But in some cases, they will still send out checks.
Yeah. Now, if the redemption period expires and the property hasn't redeemed yet, then this is where the lien can be used to start and to foreclose on the property, using a judicial foreclosure. So what that really means is that they'll be foreclosed on and lose their property ownership rights if they don't pay off the bill before the foreclosure date.
Yeah, and really kind of depending on the state, it will depend on if we're hiring an attorney or if that's something that will be handled through the county on their foreclosure level. So it kind of depend on the state, but either way, it's going to end up in foreclosure. In fact, here's a couple examples of properties that were picked up for delinquent back taxes in Colorado.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, in fact, speaking of that and how they work, you know, whether or not the county handles the foreclosure with the tax lien or we have to handle it, we've identified in the past as either a self-executing foreclosures or non-self-executing foreclosures. And the self-executing foreclosures are like states like Florida, where all you have to do is just really fill out, you know, apply for a tax deed. And once that happens, the county will be the party to actually send out the foreclosure notices. You know, they're going to end up scheduling the property for an auction, and that's also why in Florida, you know, you as the lien holder, you almost never end up getting the property. The only way you get the property is if it doesn't get a minimum bid at auction. You know, so the majority of good properties do end up getting bids at auction, and so therefore liens just redeem.
Yeah, you know, another thing to think about when we are going through the foreclosure process, if it gets to that point, is that if we haven't purchased the second or third year lien, we may have to pay off other investors their lien amount as part of the foreclosure process.
Yeah, in order to foreclose.
Yeah, so there's always going to be some type of cost in foreclosure. Now, if we're talking about a state like Arizona, we're going to have to hire an attorney to go ahead and do the foreclosure for us.
Yeah, they have a non-self-executing process there where it's up to us to go through the entire foreclosure process. So it's easier if we just hire an attorney to do that. But Steve's right about anticipating those, you know, those other costs. You know, if we bought a lien against a property and we didn't buy the following lien, you know, that came up against the property, or, you know, they could be, you know, sometimes in some states, depending on how long the redemption period is, you could have a couple liens against the property. But we have to go into it kind of planning on paying those off as that, you know, that being part of the roll up, you know, because
well, in the case of New Jersey, they give you the chance to pay if there's a second year lien. In the case of Florida, they just relist the liens again and sell them to anyone.
Yeah,
you know, so it kind of depends on the state. You could buy the lien from that year in Florida. Let's say you bought the lien from last year. Well, you know, that if there's a lien from this year, they're just going to put it on the online auction again, and whoever bids win. But because you purchased it the year before, you have the first position lien. You have the first chance to foreclose once it becomes due because you purchased it a year before they did. But when you do foreclose, you're going to have to pay off their liens and their interests essentially to do the foreclosure.
Yeah, yeah. So you know, that's where we talk about roll up. How big of a concern it is partly depends on how long their redemption period is and how many liens, you know, they'll issue against properties. You know, how many of those liens can survive. So for instance, in Florida, it can be an issue because we have you know, up to 7 years worth of liens that can, you know, that can be against the property. So we have to, you know, that's why we check for roll up, is because we don't want to accidentally buy a property you know, that we think has good value to find out that it has, you know, 6 other liens against it that are going to cost big money to foreclose on. Even then, it could be worth it. It all depends on what the property's worth. But there's more problematic properties like that in Florida than you'll find in other places.
Yeah, well, and one thing to talk about is since the pandemic, states that were generally on-site auction states, Mississippi, Alabama, you know, these kind of states have now started moving their tax lien auctions online. You know, in fact, I was looking that over today. There's, you know, and so there's going to be all, you know, Ohio. There's so many different states now that have opportunity to buy tax liens online, where before we were kind of talking about, you know, Florida and Arizona.
Yeah.
But now there's opportunity throughout the country to purchase tax liens on all kinds of property, where you may, you know, you may have a less competition on a Mississippi tax lien than you do on a Florida tax lien.
Oh yeah, for certain you will.
You know, and so kind of depending on those states, it may be good to look at other states where You may bid down a Florida tax lien to 6%, but even if the Mississippi rate's only 14, 12%, but you get it for 11, you're still getting a higher rate of return.
Yeah, well, and the other advantage of buying liens is every time you buy a lien, there is that chance that you could end up going to foreclosure on the property and foreclosing. The more properties you buy, the greater the chances are you're going to end up picking up something that will go to foreclosure. And when that happens, not only are you earning that that great, you're not earning the great rate of return. Instead, you're going to have the entire property to sell. So really, it's a home run because you're going to pick that property up for the absolute minimum cost and own it outright. In fact, it'll be those properties that you acquire that really make the tax lien investing worth it in terms of a way to build capital.
Right.
So yeah, and it is a good time right now with all of these different companies that are moving their auctions online. There's a lot more access to people online.
Yeah, there's just a couple of examples of tax liens that were purchased in Florida.
Yeah, which in Florida, again, it's all about timing, but some of these other states have inventory on file that you can get.
Yeah, now as far as online auctions, a lot of time these online auctions aren't going to require a huge deposit. Usually it's going to be around 10% of what you plan on investing. So let's say that you were interested in participating in like the Arizona tax liens. Instead of just registering for one auction, it may be worth it to, register or kind of separate your money between 2 or 3 auctions, giving you a chance to purchase, see which one's going to get you the best rates.
Yeah, I think if you've got more competition in one tax lien auction, then being able to participate in another one, would be a great idea. And you could very well earn a higher rate just because it has a little bit less competition.
Well, let's say that you want to invest 10 grand. Well, that means that we could put $1,000 in one and $1,000 in the other. And, worst case scenario, we could still put in a little bit more in our deposit. So if we hit our deposit line, we could put an additional $1,000 deposit in and spend, 9 grand of our 10 grand in that one auction if we're getting better rates there.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea for participating in some of these auctions because we don't know exactly how they're going to turn out ahead of time. And it is a numbers game. We really do want to give ourselves, the most opportunities to bid on properties. And being in multiple auctions, will allow you to have different levels of competition.
Well, and if for some reason it was competitive when in one of those auctions and you didn't win any tax liens, you're going to get your refund pretty quickly. These companies have been set up where they're getting people's refund usually within a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Something else you can do too is just like with tax deed auctions, a lot of times in tax lien auctions, your single family homes will get targeted. And the reality is that that's not important with lien investing. There's no need to target stuff that looks appealing to your eye in that way because it's not traditional real estate. If nearly everything redeems, then that stuff is much less important to us than the numbers.
Yeah, I would say on average for this, you're going to get twice the rate of return on a piece of land than you will a home.
Yeah, that's probably true.
If we're looking at a single family home, and let's say the bidding starts at 18%, that home could easily bid down to 6%, where that land could bid down to 15%.
Yeah.
And if they're both worth 100 grand, and in the case of Florida, you're not going to really own either one of them because it's going to go to a deed sale.
Yeah.
Why not earn 15% versus 6%?
Yeah, it's true. A lot of times people invest in liens with this idea, that they're going to get the property every time. And because of that, they're always picking out the stuff that's most appealing. But in reality, if you see the kinds of properties that end up going to tax sale, they're rarely, the ones that look the most ideal. It's usually weird circumstances leading up to them. Sometimes they can look run down. it's always going to be your best bet to focus on land over, over improved properties, just for everything that we can, weed out.
Yeah.
Even with liens though, it's going to result in a higher interest rate return.
Yeah. One question we get a lot about tax lien online auction is what is proxy bidding? And really what this allows you to do is to pre-enter the minimum interest rate that you're willing to accept, and the computer system will bid on your behalf. So let's say that you bid down, you're willing to take a 10% interest rate and it starts at 18%. As other bidders bid on that tax lien, it'll automatically bid down on your behalf. So if you're at 10% and the second lowest bidder is at 15%, then you would win the tax lien at 14.75% or 14.5% or whatever.
Yeah, basically bids on your behalf, to get you the higher rate, but at the same time, we'll bid down to whatever the low amount is you have set
the lowest you're willing to go.
So,
and then if it bids below there, let's say it bids down to 9%, then essentially you're out unless you decide to bid down lower at a later date.
Yeah. Most of these lien auctions are using proxy bidding. So, so that you don't have to input every single bid. You can just basically set an amount.
Yeah. As far as tax lien auctions that are coming up, Arizona within the next 2 weeks is going to be opening up most of their online auctions, and they're going to be taking place, between February 1st and the end of February. We also have Indiana that's coming up, and there's some New Jersey auctions as well.
Yeah. So why don't we go take a look at some of them? Yeah, in fact, why don't we go see what inventory we can look at right now?
Yeah.
Look at some liens and
we're kind of limited.
We're early.
Yeah, because Arizona, is going to be putting theirs out within the next week or two. But there is some New Jersey auctions that we can go look at, and they use a similar type system. So, it'll at least give us an idea of some of the auctions that are coming up and kind of what it looks like and kind of the research process. And really, as we go through and look at these tax liens, we're going to be able to determine within just a couple of minutes, if it's a tax lien that we're willing to purchase or not. So let's go ahead and go down to New Jersey.
Oh yeah, we can see here, the dates in those open.
Yeah, we're going to be updating that
really soon.
Well, those are actually from 2021.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But I was looking through it today, and we're going to process of updating the new dates, but they're opening up starting, within about a week.
Yeah, about the same time frame probably that they had last year.
Yeah, close.
Which, a whole bunch of openings in January, and February. All right, let's see. Get down here to New Jersey.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and click on that real auction website, because I kind of want to show you some of the date. We wanted to kind of look through some of the dates as well. So as we continue to scroll down,
we're looking at the liens right now.
First, one thing I want to talk about, that's part of the reason I had to click on this link, is we can see the Arizona sales and when they're going to be opening.
Oh yeah.
So one opening on the 18th.
14th,
on the 12th,
17th, the 12th. So yeah, those will be opening up here pretty quick.
Yeah, so they're not quite open yet, but within, one of them is going to be open with less than a week.
Yeah. Let's see.
So we'll scroll down to New Jersey, and here in New Jersey, they're kind of a little bit slow until about February. But there is some auctions coming up that we can look at.
Like that one?
Yeah.
Commercial, Cumberland.
And, using real auction, each city, in this case in New Jersey, or county in Arizona, is going to have its own auction website.
Yeah, so it looks like they've got 327 tax liens here.
Yeah, and each one of the formats is going to look similar, where you'll have a tax year, a parcel ID, an owner name, the amount, and maybe an ADV number or something like that will pull up additional information.
Yeah, So let's see, for $1,800 here, let's see what this is. So this one is commercial, I think, or maybe that's the name of the place, Commercial, New Jersey.
Yeah.
Commercial.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's a weird name. Replace Commercial.
Well, we see it has a value of about 117 on 0.32 acre.
Yeah, building value of that 76,000.
Yeah, residential, built in 1986. So what we could do is we could go ahead and look at this address, and find out a little bit more about the property. Now, because we're buying a tax lien, we're usually not going to do the same amount of research as we normally would on a tax deed property.
Yeah, but it can be worth it to pull the property up, if it has an address, so you can see what it is. In this case, we can see that it's a single family residence. Yeah, you can see it. It's right here, right?
I think it's actually a trailer, mobile home.
Yeah.
It's got on land.
Yeah, and so we can see the $117,000 value though. The $1,800 amount for the lien is roughly, well, it's only 1%.
Well, let's look at the total charges underneath the top. So you can see it's property taxes. Yeah, it is lower. Sometimes in the case of New Jersey, they can actually put a tax lien on a sewer charge or something like that as well. So it's interesting to look and see what type of tax lien it is. This is a property tax lien. We could also check up this property's address on Zillow and see what kind of market value it has. And in many of the counties, they'll have links that'll take you directly to the county record information. And so we'll go ahead and look over that information as well. But once we've done that, we can pretty much make a decision. Is this a tax lien that we're interested in purchasing or not? Yeah. In the case of New Jersey, they send you this where it's gonna take a little bit more time to look it up. But in most of the online auctions, like in Florida, Arizona, Maryland, they'll have direct links that'll take you directly to the county record information. So when you click on the parcel number, like in this case, it took us up to where we're going to have to look it up manually. In most cases, they'll give you the ability to look it up just by clicking on the link. Yeah, and they estimate the value here at 123. Yeah, so pretty close. Yeah. But, with a $1,600 tax lien, yes, your money's going to be protected on that. We're not going to really be worried about doing much more research than that on a tax lien certificate. Yeah, it's true. The next one down, 1,400, similar story on that one. This one's also a residential house with just a slightly lower value, but very similar to the one before that. Here's one for 1,300, and it's a similar situation. Building value 58, total value of 87. Yeah, and I'll bet this one is probably, more of just a regular home. Yeah. We're looking at the year built, 1950. In fact, let's look this one up real quick too. Now, if we were to look up on Google Maps, and we saw that the property was, the roof was torn down, or there was a hole in the roof, or we saw some major structural damage, well, then we would walk away from the tax lien. But, otherwise, as long as everything looks good, then, chances are we're never going to own it. The property owner is just going to pay us back. We don't have we can't get a street side here on it, on Dandelion. Yeah, it really wouldn't be the deal breaker in a tax lien. Yeah, it must have it's just right outside of Battle Lane and this Dandelion. That's okay. There's a lot of other property we can look at. Are there any higher dollar liens? Oh, lower ones. Let's take a look and see.
Oh, cheapest ones, there's definitely some cheap ones.
Look at one of the cheap ones. See if it's a partial lien or a sewer lien or
Yeah, all right, $50 liens.
junk lien.
Let's see, $50 liens here. This is a vacant lot valued at $2,500. Legal description, additional lots, 7316 and 7317.
Got a property address.
Yeah, it does.
Lot.
Yeah, it looks like a decent lot.
Well, not high valued, but
Yeah, this one, I mean, this one's like $90, it's property 5,000. Yeah, it's probably.
no, look at that. It's interesting. You can see an additional unpaid certificate has one.
Oh, yeah, this one does have one of those.
Go to certificate history, see if there's any information there. Nope.
Let's see, so that's just what the ones for about $100 here. $400, so $450, let's see, this one is, so for $450, you can actually get good liens. This is a good lien, against improved property, value, building value at 50,000.
It's old.
Yeah, land value, built in 1870.
Let's look at it.
Holy cow.
It was built right after the Civil War.
Yeah, it's still standing.
Or it could be.
Oh yeah, look at that.
That doesn't look that. I expected something not looking like on a normal street.
Yeah. Where did this place is that it? 1490, 2319. So that means across the street?
Or maybe it's in that bushes.
Yeah, maybe that was it, clear up here. That's 2300 something.
Huh.
Well, that's weird. I'd have to figure out which property it is here. 2314.
Click on the layer, like on the map down below. Oh, so I forgot we're looking at a house, not a lot.
It looks like it is. Yeah, it looks like it's one of these. Yeah, it kind of looks like it's this middle one. $321. I wonder if it's a duplex.
I don't know. We can go look at another one though, or a different city.
Oh, it's weird. I can't get it to. Let's see. And it kind of has problems there. All right. Yeah, let's do this. Let's go back here.
Let's look at a different one. Keep scrolling down. It's Lacey.
All right, let's see what Lacey here.
There's one for $4,000. Now, one thing that's different about New Jersey than any other state, or than most states, is they're going to sell them by city, township. So instead of the county selling it, you know, you may have 30 different cities or townships within that county selling tax liens individually.
Yeah, so this one's a $4,200 lien, but the property's valued at almost 700,000, 695,000, including 500,000 in land value, 200,000 in building value. Oh, look at that.
Wow. That's sweet.
Yeah, that one is right on.
It's new too.
Yeah.
What's that on?
Is that
Something Bay.
is it Barmagat or Bamagat? Bamagat. Bamagat? I don't know.
I'll scroll up for a little further and see what's on the. It's kind of, you know, on the banks.
Yeah.
Now look at the street view. It is right on the water.
Yeah, as much on the water as you can get, really.
See what the value of that.
$990,000.
Wow.
Again, though, not that high of a rent estimate. Under 3,000 on the rent estimate for a property that's valued at $1 million. That's crazy.
Yeah.
You know, but goodness, your $4,200 lien is going to be highly secure,
Yeah,
though, considering that
protected.
yeah, I mean, it's such a tiny percentage of you know of value there that you're just, you know, your money's very secure. And these others must be like it too. You know, it's interesting. Here's another one, you know, that is a property that they want 6,700 for, but the value on this property is about half of what it was worth on the, you know, the last property.
Well, let's see what this one is. You know, even at that though.
Yeah, so it's still highly secure, but it's interesting how, you know, it's for a higher amount with a property that's worth half as much.
And it could be.
Yeah, it's another one of these that are on, you know, that are waterside with these little inlets.
Oh yeah.
You know, because, you know, that's what this property is. It's one of the last ones that has access there.
You got a huge deck.
Yeah.
That deck.
Yeah, that is cool. That is a humongous deck. Yeah, very nice property.
Got the boat out front.
Yeah, I wonder what.
And these people aren't going to be losing their home. You know, they're probably just, you know, well, in this case, it
sold in 2019.
Oh yeah.
So you know, somebody has to pay the property
they're
tax.
probably just delinquent. Could be going through sale owner. You know, these people know that they owe and are willing to pay the interest for, you know, 3 months or 6 months or whatever it is until they get their money to pay it.
Oh yeah, let's look at that back deck. Oh yeah, so they've got a hot tub out there, and yeah, that's a cool setup there with that little deck. And you know, it has it
right down to the water,
right down to the dock. Oh, that is an interesting property here. And it looks like most of the properties fall within, you know, those kinds of price ranges. Let's see, this one has taxes and Y. Let's see what Y is. So this property is valued at $539, they're saying, and let's see, total charges. Year-end penalty. That's, you know what it is. Their property taxes are $13,000. The year-end penalty is $780.
I wonder if that's because they're been delinquent longer or something. I don't know. I haven't seen that before.
Yeah, I don't either. I think just about any of these though are probably going to be pretty good liens. I mean, yeah, here for $1,100, $1,200, it's a lien against property valued at $100,000.
Let's look at this one.
not that far away. Just right up there, and it's
Yeah.
also a little single family home, that probably has pretty good value.
Inside photos.
Well, estimate 206.
Wow.
So this one's, one where the estimate on it, that's only a $1,200 lien.
No, one thing we love about something like these past photos though, is that, it gives us an idea of what it was at the very latest back in 2019, and we can see that it's been remodeled.
Yeah.
So things that were outdated from when this property was originally built have been improved. You see the wall heaters and things like that, which, they may have had something different at the time.
Yeah, totally remodeled, and yeah, somebody bought it for 90,000. They got a Freeman deal.
Pretty good deal.
Yeah, I wonder if they're the ones that did all the work on it. If it was fixed up, after somebody bought it for 90,000, now it's valued at 206.
They very well could have, right there at 2019 where the market was a little bit slow, they very well could have bought it for 90 grand.
Yeah, that would be good.
These may be photos from when it was last sold back at, for 90. Well, the county only has it listed at 106, what they're assessed or whatever it was, 101.
Yeah.
So it may make sense that 2 years ago, I'll bet that property's gone up in value 50 grand over the last year and a half.
Yeah.
2 years.
Let's see, even the smaller ones here, let's see, for a bunch of these with this Calico Properties. I wonder if this is a situation where you've got.
Could be land, look at one.
Yeah, let's see what they are. Valued at 55,000.
Oh, that's
a quarter acre. It has a property address too.
Probably a developer or investor. What? That wasn't what I was expecting.
Oh, it says that it's vacant.
Look at the map. Yeah, right there next to it. Is that all it's giving us? Wow.
Oh, I know. Let's see. Quarter. No, see, hold on. It's still showing us. It's showing us a Lacey Road. Hold on.
Oh, right there.
Porter.
There's Porter Avenue, Seaside Heights. Huh.
Yeah, I don't know. That one would take a little bit more work to figure out exactly where it's at. Or some of these, which I'm sure are, yeah, these are right by, wherever it is. All these properties are right next to each other. For 8,000, another single family home valued at 363.
Well, and if we wanted to participate in one of these auctions, we would go ahead and get registered, put in our deposit, and then, it would allow us to go ahead and put bids.
That's a nice house.
It's a really nice house.
Yeah, valued at 570. Interior photos of this one too. It would be an easy one to buy liens against.
Got a pool.
Yeah, I think they do.
I think I saw one photo of it.
Yeah, it's covered.
Yeah. Nice house though.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is the only lien against the property, so it's going to redeem.
Well, and if it didn't, be
Yeah.
worth it.
Here's another one. valued at $529. This one's a $13,000 lien.
You know, one thing we can look at as well as we're looking at this is we can look at the property address and compare it to the owner information and see, is it owner occupied or is it a different address? Well, in this case, the owner address is somebody from Staten Island, New York. You know, the address isn't the same.
Yeah.
Which means it could be a rental property, maybe it's a second home. We don't quite know what the situation is, but it's not the permanent owner's address.
Yeah, and we can see this is actually a very nice property too. It's one of the properties built in the subdivision with all the water outlets.
Yeah.
You know, and so there's quite a few of them in there. And this one has photos too, valued at $692.
Look how many of these homes sold back in 2019.
Yeah, $399.
Almost every home we've seen that sold in 2019.
Yeah.
For good prices too, compared to what they are now. Like that was the time to be buying homes in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Well, and there's always going to be these up and downs throughout real estate, you know, in new areas and
yeah, it's interesting. You know, you have a lot of good images though of the property, tons.
You know, but essentially his property has gone up in value, or her property has gone up in value from 400 grand, what they paid for it, to almost 700 grand now. Gone up in property, but gone up in value $300,000 in less than 2 years.
Yeah.
That is crazy. But hopefully it'll start to kind of give you guys an idea of you know, the opportunity with tax lien investing, how to be able to participate in some of these online auctions. And as you watch the online auction pages and the auction calendar, we'll let you guys know coming over the next, you know, 30, 60, 90 days about all of the different online auctions that are taking place. So we're looking at New Jersey now, but we're going to have Arizona coming up. We're going to have Mississippi. We're going to have Alabama.
Check that out. One of the liens here, the biggest lien I could find on here was actually for $20,000 about.
Yeah.
And it's a lien against the marina. You know, so you know, we can see here, you know, the marina here.
Yeah.
And the marina is valued at, you know, like 1.5 million, probably higher, you know, market.
Yeah.
You know, that's another interesting one.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, and all of these that we've looked at really would be good liens. You know, I think all of these, you know, would redeem. Yeah, hopefully we had audio. It seems like we've had audio.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think any of the liens that we've looked at so far today, you know, we've pretty much been able to find most all of them and look at all of them, and all of them have good numbers, you know, in terms of the numbers you're looking for, you know, your lien to value ratio. So it would really just be a matter of you know, trying to get them for a good interest rate.
Yeah.
So anyhow, yeah, the number of sales though is going to explode. There's going to be lots of upcoming lien sales here within a few months, and also a lot of upcoming deed sales.
Yeah, so, you know, be sure to keep joining us here on the weekly webinar, and we'll keep you guys informed about some of the upcoming auctions and opportunities that are coming up.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us this evening, and we'll be back again next week.
All right, appreciate it.